This Kawhi, the entire thing of going into business with this dude, all the stuff it cost them, all the players and the draft picks, plus this scandal, it has to be the most damaging transaction in the history of the league.
LeBron just dropped a statement about Kawhi Leonard so wild that the whole league is looking around, like something serious just cracked open. With one line, he threw the quietest superstar in the NBA straight into the middle of a messy money situation that nobody saw coming, and it hit with the kind of shock that freezes a room. Suddenly, Kawhi's name is tied to talk that feels like off-the-books money, the type only billionaires ever move around, with checks landing perfectly on schedule, while the timing looks way too suspicious. And then there's the company that's barely staying alive, yet somehow it's getting promoted by celebrities like Drake, DiCaprio, and Robert Downey Jr., turning this whole thing into a storyline that feels bigger than any NBA drama we've watched lately.
This Kawhi, the entire thing of going into business with this dude, all the stuff it cost them, all the players and the draft picks, plus this scandal, it has to be the most damaging transaction in the history of the league.
Today, we're diving into every detail. What happened with Kawhi, why LeBron is calling out the league with more force than ever, and why everyone is whispering that he's finally saying what players usually keep quiet. And wait until you hear how Clippers owner SteveBallmer got tangled up in this situation. Because from this point on, it stops being a random LeBron comment and turns into a real scandal backed by paperwork. The person who cracked the door open is Pablo Torre. Yeah, him, the journalist who built his name digging into stories where sports and money start crossing lines.
Welcome to Pablo Torre Finds Out. I am Pablo Torre, and today we're going to find out.
He got his hands on a stack of documents tied to Kawhi and a company called Aspiration, and what he uncovered will shock anyone following this saga. According to Torre's reporting, Kawhi had an endorsement deal with Aspiration that was supposedly worth around $28 million, but the whole thing looked nothing like a normal partnership. On paper, it reads like a star athlete getting paid to rep a brand, but Torre explains it more like a no-show job, a setup that lets huge amounts of money slide through with barely any proof that Kawhi ever promoted anything. And that's exactly where the scandal jumps out, because it raises a real question. Was this deal truly about marketing, or was it a clean-looking way to move money around outside the NBA's salary rules?
Crappy school.
Who successfully raised hundreds of millions of dollars with the help of some of the most famous people in the entire world, because Andre and Joe co-founded a company that they named Aspiration.
What should we aspire to?
And it was written by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California. Quote, Joseph Sandberg, co-founder of Aspiration Partners, arrested for conspiring to defraud an investment fund of at least $145 million.
Oh, God.
Sure, million-dollar endorsement contracts aren't shocking in today's league. Players stack bags from them all the time. But this situation goes sideways fast. The contract barely explains what Kawhi was supposed to do. It literally lists things like payment for services or services not specified, meaning no commercials, no social posts, no appearances, nothing that shows actual work, just steady money landing in his account for years. Even someone with no business experience would look at that and think something strange is happening. But the part that screams trouble is the timing. These payments hit right when Kawhi was signing new deals with the Clippers and whenever Aspiration desperately needed money to stay alive. If you're an investigator watching that pattern, you're already leaning forward like, okay, what's really going on here? And then there's Ballmer. After digging deeper, it turned out he, or companies tied to the Clippers, pumped around $118 million into Aspiration over just 18 months, which is real billionaire-level money. And if it ended there, maybe nobody notices, but another $21 million allegedly had to be thrown in just to save the company from going bankrupt, making this whole situation even louder. Oh, and trust me, that's not even close to the end of this mess. Another $56 million went towards so-called carbon purchases. And just like I mentioned earlier, every single transaction lined up almost perfectly with the exact moments Kawhi's checks were going out. So now the whole pattern looks wild.
Of all the rich and famous people they paid, to be part of this, to legitimize this, right? Iron Man, the guy from The Revenant, right? All these people, the guy from Degrassi High. Kawhi that's the apex? That is the highest paid celebrity endorser of this?
Clippers money props up the company, Aspiration stays alive just long enough to function, and Kawhi keeps getting his endorsement payments like clockwork. It's honestly unbelievable. Kind of clever, but absolutely unbelievable. Because it looks like a full money loop moving with crazy precision, while the paperwork barely explains anything happening behind the scenes. When you put the contracts, payment logs, timelines, and LLC connections together, the simple picture turns into a maze of money, shifting through different entities, and somehow parking itself right back near Kawhi Leonard. SteveBallmer tried to downplay it, brushing it off like he got misled by Aspiration and had no clue what was really going on. But newer reports say otherwise. They show that he and a partner kept dropping even more cash into the company, while it was clearly falling apart.
Kawhi's deal wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. I've seen players get paid off the books for years, and if I ever said who, I probably wouldn't finish this interview.
In March 2023, months after Aspiration was already sliding into financial trouble, Ballmer still invested another $10 million, which makes his "I didn't know anything" line sound shaky at best. And then there's Dennis Wong, Ballmer's longtime friend, old college roommate, and a Clippers minority owner. He personally threw about $2 million into Aspiration just 9 days before the company sent out a delayed $1.75 million payment to Leonard, which looks way too close to be brushed off as coincidence. So while Ballmer keeps saying he was fooled and didn't understand what was happening, anyone with eyes can see that story doesn't really add up. Kawhi hasn't said a single word about any of this, which is already pretty telling. But the optics are rough no matter how you spin it.
A salary cap, for people who just aren't familiar with it, this is important because it does what?
It stops the richest owner in the world from being able to do things that the poorest of the rich owners can't do. So there are certain owners, think about this, if you're an owner who makes private planes for a living and you just give a private plane to your player just for S's and G's, that's something that a guy who buys a team who runs a corner, family drugstore wouldn't be able to do.
Oh, and just to make the whole situation even messier, one of Aspiration's owners has already pleaded guilty to fraud in a completely separate case. This whole situation reaches way beyond bending a few NBA cap rules. It's operating on a completely different level. The Department of Justice made it clear that the stakes here are massive because just last month they revealed that Joseph Sandberg, one of Aspiration's co-founders, pled guilty to defrauding investors out of hundreds of millions after his 2023 arrest. To put that into perspective, this company managed to raise nearly $1 billion and was valued at $2.3 billion while gearing up to go public, which makes this scandal even more unbelievable.
I'm so glad to get a chance to talk to you because you are a mysterious man.
And this wasn't some tiny paperwork mistake. The DOJ spelled it out clearly. Aspiration misled investors, faked financial statements, and basically ran a green-painted Ponzi scheme, meaning every single dollar moving through that company is now being tracked by federal eyes. What blows my mind is that Aspiration wasn't some unknown startup hiding in the shadows. They had huge celebrities openly backing them, with Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., and Drake all promoting the company and giving it a legit shine in public. Everyone saw the endorsements, everyone talked about the brand, and it looked like something rock solid until everything snapped. Then you have Kawhi, the guy who reportedly received the biggest slice of the money, sitting right in the middle of that no-show deal. And he hasn't said a single word about any of it, not even once. No comments, no posts, no interviews, nothing at all, even though this company was paying him millions while being investigated for massive fraud, which makes his silence louder than anything he could say.
Important to establish what makes him, right? Like what distinguishes him, from Drake and Iron Man and all of those celebrity Avengers that you referenced.
Oh, he's the worst personality ever. Like, it's in terms of you want someone outgoing and can sell something and be very vivacious and inspire a good, positive energy. That's not who he is. He's a very quiet, reserved guy. He doesn't really tend to go to the spotlight. Most of his commercials He doesn't have a speaking role.
Meanwhile, other celebrities were out here waving the aspiration flag. But Kawhi staying completely quiet tells his own story. And that's exactly the kind of thing LeBron was hinting at when he said these deals looked like mafia-style business. He was basically saying there's a whole underground system of unofficial arrangements, and the NBA has seen this type of pattern before. So Kawhi keeping quiet fits that don't ask, don't tell playbook perfectly. And here's the crazy part. Once a founder admits guilt, prosecutors don't stop at investors. They start chasing every suspicious payment tied to the entire operation. That includes endorsement deals, sponsorship money, and any cash tied to high-profile clients, which means Kawhi Leonard's $28 million contract isn't just an NBA rules issue anymore. It's potentially sitting inside a federal evidence file now. This is the exact crossover the NBA never wanted to see, because league investigations end with fines, lost draft picks, or avoided contract. But federal investigators operate on a completely different level. Once the feds step in, you're talking subpoenas, sworn testimony, and civil cases that can drag every involved person into a courtroom, no matter how famous they are. News reports even revealed that Aspiration's bankruptcy filings listed the Clippers as one of the creditors, which automatically ties Ballmer's franchise financially to a company whose founder just admitted to fraud. So let's break down the worst possible scenario, the one nobody in the league wants to imagine. If DOJ filings confirm that payments sent to Kawhi's LLC were part of the same fraudulent system investors were misled by, that opens the door to court-ordered clawbacks. That means the court can try to recover money they consider ill-gotten. And if that happens, Kawhi's team could be hit with civil lawsuits demanding some of that money back. And for Ballmer, the billionaire who probably thought he was just helping a company survive and supporting a star player, he could end up facing both NBA punishment and legal exposure as someone who invested heavily in a failing, fraudulent business. The situation becomes very simple. Once a founder pleads guilty, the dominoes start dropping fast. And if any of those dominoes fall anywhere near Kawhi or the Clippers, this stops being a quiet story and turns into one of the nastiest scandals the NBA has ever had to manage. And LeBron wasn't done talking about it either. He didn't just call it mafia business, he pushed it even further and said, That's LeBron basically hinting this whole thing isn't a one-time screw-up. He's saying it's just the tip of a huge iceberg that's been sitting under the NBA for years. And here's why that hits different. Real NBA fans know that off-the-books money is usually nothing more than whispers, anonymous agents, or locker room talk that never gets written down anywhere. But Pablo Torre's report flipped that script because now there are ledgers, documents, and numbers on paper that actually line up in black and white, which makes this situation way harder to ignore. And it's not just the DOJ chasing this anymore. The NBA officially confirmed it's reviewing everything and even brought in outside lawyers to dig through the evidence like it's a corporate war case. The law firm running the review is Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen & Katz, the type of heavyweight legal team that normally handles billion-dollar business fights, not endorsement deals from a basketball team, which shows how seriously the league is taking this. So what exactly is the NBA looking for? It comes down to one thing: salary cap circumvention, which is a fancy way of saying, did someone sneak extra money to a player? In simple terms, the league doesn't allow teams or owners to slide hidden payments to players outside their contract, because every dollar earned from the team must count against the salary cap. Endorsements with outside brands are totally fine, as long as the team or owner isn't secretly bankrolling that deal behind the scenes, because that turns it into bonus money disguised as clean cash. So if the accusations about aspiration turn out to be legit, the league could say Ballmer's money looped back to Kawhi in a way that breaks cap rules, even if it wasn't a direct transfer. And what makes it even crazier is the timing, because the amounts line up almost perfectly, giving the NBA enough ammo to argue that something wasn't clean here. The league does not play around with this stuff, and the penalties can be massive. First off, the Clippers could get hit with massive fines. We're talking millions. And Kawhi's contract could end up voided or rewritten if the league decides the whole arrangement was a dirty setup. And that's not even the harshest option, because the NBA's nuclear move is right there on standby, stripping draft picks, which is the punishment every team fears. If you want proof the league will actually go that far, just look back at the Timberwolves losing 5 first-round picks in the Joe Smith scandal. The NBA does not play around when it thinks the integrity of the system is being messed with. But this isn't something that gets wrapped up next month. These investigations stretch out for months, sometimes years, especially when the federal government is involved at the same time. So don't expect a clean answer anytime soon. This whole thing might not land until 2026, and that's where it gets extremely dangerous for the Clippers. Because if Ballmer is found to have knowingly allowed this, or even just looked the other way, the punishments stop being team penalties and start getting personal. Ballmer keeps trying to paint himself as a victim who got misled by Aspiration. But with the new details tying him to Dennis Wong, that defense is getting harder to believe. But the real mystery is this: why is Kawhi Leonard, the most silent superstar in the league, tangled up in something this messy? Kawhi built his entire image on privacy, control, and staying quiet. Normally that protects him, but not in a scandal involving bankruptcy, federal investigations, and unclear payments. He hasn't said a single word about the Aspiration deal, and that silence is now creating a narrative he can't control. Fans are already asking, did Kawhi take money routed through a collapsing company funded by his own team's owner? Or did he just not care where the money came from? Kawhi has always chased security. He left the Spurs over trust issues and went to the Clippers to be close to people he trusts. So, if Aspiration showed him easy money, and it looked like Ballmer quietly approved it, he might have signed without digging deeper. But intent doesn't change the optics, and the optics look terrible. Brand-wise, this hits even harder. Kawhi isn't LeBron or Steph. He can't flip a narrative with one post. Silence works when you're dropping 30 in the playoffs, not when lawyers and investigators are involved. That silence is now hurting him more than helping. For the Clippers, it's a disaster. Kawhi was supposed to be the face of the Intuit Dome era, and now the scandal follows every conversation about the franchise. To understand how dangerous this is, look at NBA history. The Joe Smith scandal cost the Timberwolves 5 first-round picks. The Heat used creative cap maneuvers in 2010, bending the rules without breaking them. But Kawhi's Aspiration deal is in a different universe. $28 million for services not specified, no ads, no posts, no appearances, just automatic payments from a company heavily funded by the team's owner, perfectly timed with Kawhi's contract extensions. That comparison alone invites serious NBA scrutiny. If the league decides this acted like illegal bonus money, the punishments from past scandals, fines, suspensions, lost picks, suddenly feel extremely relevant. And this time, there are federal investigators involved, which raises the stakes even more. Zoom out and it's clear. Ballmer's money moving around, Kawhi staying silent, federal eyes watching, and LeBron calling it mafia business. That combination will not fade quickly. So what do you think? Was Kawhi just caught in the chaos, or did he know exactly what he was stepping into? And if you want to stay locked in as this story keeps exploding, smash the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next twist.